Hey, I've got a secret. You want to hear it? Want to know about it? Good, because today I want to teach you the secret to influencing others. I know we've all heard about influence. We all know that it's important, but what is it really and how the heck does it even work? Let's begin with a simple definition of influence to talk about this. The simplest definition we can talk about for influence is your current capacity to have an effect over someone or something. That's it. Your capacity to have an effect on someone or something. Now, to get even clearer about our distinction in influence is to understand the opposite of influence. You see, the opposite is being at effect of someone or something else. Which do you think represents success, a better life, good things? That's right. I am so interested in helping you put yourself in power to be influential and be at effect in your life that this is why we're talking today. So I'm going to give you the secret right now, and then we're going to talk about it and unpack it a little bit. Okay? The secret to influencing others is to have a high level of influence over yourself. How do you get the most from yourself? How do you operate as your best self? How do you get yourself to stop doing the things that are not helpful? Let's start. God, in his infinite wisdom, has endowed you with some capacities, and the first one we're going to be talking about is your intellect. Your intellect is your knowledge of what is true and what is not true. You see, when you know what is true and what is not true, you can distinguish between the decisions that you need to be able to make to run your life. And so understanding that what is truly a benefit and what is truly a threat in your life will help you make the best decisions to get the most from yourself and have most influence over yourself, and therefore help other people through influencing them. Okay? So intellect is number one. Number two is your will. Now, there's been some interesting science come out in the last several years around will and willpower. What we need to understand is that willpower is two things. Number one, it's something that can be strengthened like a muscle, and it also has the capacity to fatigue like a muscle. So when we're putting ourselves in a position where we're constantly having to resist that chocolate donut all day long, eventually our willpower is going to fatigue and it's going to take over. Okay? But one of the things that's important about willpower is to understand that willpower is what we use to respond to events and circumstances in our lives, whether we cause them or whether we come across them. So how do you use your willpower to be able to make a wise decision about what you're going to do now, before you react? Got it? Okay. All right. The third thing we need to talk about is your capacity of memory. Memory is absolutely powerful when it comes to helping be able to use our intellect and our will to be able to have the greatest influence over ourselves and with others. So memory is really a recollection of events. This is when we can remember something from the past. Let's say you had a great experience somewhere doing something amazing that you want to now do again, or some version of that you can do again. You can literally go back into your memory and remember that time that you had that experience and how it felt and what you were seeing and what you were hearing. And you can step back into that particular state from your memory and use that to be able to take the action through your will. Pretty powerful stuff. You also need to know that when it comes to your memory, you can think back on past events that weren't so good. Maybe they were terrible, and they can put you in a state where your willpower doesn't feel strong and I've got to panic and get out of here because my emotions are driving me crazy right now. And so we take poor actions. So your memory is the third piece that God has given you the capacity for. The fourth one is your emotions. Emotions in and of themselves have no power. And what I mean by this is that emotions are not dictators. They're actually indicators of what's going on. And so just because we feel a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, or it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to act in one way or another. And so in order to influence yourself better, you need to understand your emotions, and you need to understand how to be able to control your emotions. That's right. Because emotional hijackings always bring down the plane. They always do. And so when we get into a particular state of our emotions, we need to know how to be able to react to a particular event. Sometimes our emotions will trigger us into a particular reaction, and we can use our willpower and our intellect to be able to recondition our emotions to be more fruitful for us in those times that we need it. Good stuff, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Desire is the next capacity that you have. And desire is really interesting because desire is really about motivation. I mean, most of us have heard about know your why, know your big why. And although most people don't really know it as well as they think they do, this is where this comes from, because this is what drives all motivation. What is it that I'm after? What is it that I want? What is it that I value that's a heck yes for my life? And how does that drive me to be able to take the right actions and avoid the wrong ones? Good? All right, so we've got intellect, we've got will, we've got memory, we've got emotion, we've got a desire. And the last one I want to share with you is something that's like instinct. Okay, we'll call it instinct, which is really about the preservation of the self, whether I'm trying to preserve my body or my psyche, whatever it is. Okay, this is where oftentimes life invokes the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome, right? It's when something happens, it's like, I gotta run, or we freeze because we're scared or something like that. And so we have to be able to use our higher faculties of intellect and will to be able to navigate those instinctual situations where we feel like we might be at threat. This is why the intellect is so important, because I shared with you that the intellect should be trained to be able to know what is a threat and what is not. Otherwise, the instinct takes over and it tries to do whatever it can to protect us. And sometimes those methods for trying to protect us from something aren't real great methods. And they cause us problems down the road. That's it. That's all you got to do. You got to understand that being able to a powerful influence over yourself is going to make you a powerful influence with other people, to get people to hire you, to get somebody to date you, to get your kids to make their bed, whatever it is that's important to you. You got to be able to influence yourself. And you do that through your intellect, your will, your memory, your emotion, your desire, and your instinct. Go forth, make great things happen. Be great. It's what you're made for. Talk soon.